Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Welcome to the other side of the struggle. This is a podcast where we talk about trauma, how to heal it, and then how to take it and use it to unlock your mission and your potential, and to use it to live your very best dream life. When you're dealing with betrayal trauma, it can be hard to know how to heal it, how to stop the pain, and to know what your next steps are to take in your own life. And these are the questions that we try to answer here. Trauma has the ability to rob us of our joy and identity, which is why it's so miserable to experience. But with the right tools and with the right mindset, we can totally reclaim that joy and even use this trauma to strengthen ourselves, so that way trauma does not knock us off of our joy again. Living your dream life should be a non-negotiable, but trauma tends to try to negotiate that with you. And even though trauma is not something that we will completely ever be free of in our life, the pain is negotiable. This is why I created Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching and this podcast, is because I want my listeners, I want my clients to live, truly live free from the prison that trauma can put you in. I want you to live on the other side of the struggle. Trauma can be a beast. It has the potential to get you to believe things about yourself that just aren't true. Things like, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not beautiful, and the list goes on. And each one of those beliefs cause a crack in our hearts. And I get it. going through my own betrayal trauma, these were a lot of the things that I used to think, plus many others. So, when I had the meditation to see each one of those cracks as a way of healing, and not just of healing a flesh and blood heart, but the ability to heal a flesh and blood heart to gold, was transformational. And now I want to give you that exact same transformation for free. Pick up my Heart of Gold meditation. It is absolutely free, and I want to see it give you the exact same transformation that it did me. So check out the description below. Pick up the Heart of Gold meditation. The link is right there in the description. And while you're at it, don't forget to click on the Calendly link above to make sure that you schedule some one-on-one time with me to help you personally get through your betrayal trauma. All right, with that, let's listen to this week's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. I have with me another fantastic, fabulous guest this week. Her name is Kelly King. She is a master doTERRAist. I love that name, doTERRAist. I am too. I do. I love it. And if you know anything about doTERRA and their essential oils, oh man, do they help with like healing of all kinds. Like my passion is definitely in the emotional side of the healing, like how amazing they are. But she's also created some fantastic courses. She is really, really passionate about creating with God, and I could not think of a better person to come on and speak with us this week about starting this creation process with the Lord than Kelly. I followed her for a while, and I've loved a lot of the things that she has said and created and done. And I wanted to welcome her to the podcast. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. And really, seriously, like, I've followed your journey a little bit in your story, but I would love you to introduce a little bit of that to, the people that are listening. Tell them a little bit about your story and like kind of where you started, like even before doTERRA.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. So I'm 49 years old. Awesome. I have been in business since I was like 27. So long time. I've got lots of experience and passion for marketing and social media and entrepreneurial pursuits. I've had a variety of experiences in leading women across the seasons. And I love the conversation of co-creating with God, because that kind of is like my secret sauce, that like, if you partner with God and ask him to like be a part of your journey, then you're unstoppable, really. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk a lot about that today on the podcast, but that's who I am. That's who I've always been. And when I started doTERRA about 13 years ago, I just asked God, I said, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do it quick and easy. So show me the way. And he really gave me a strategy, which I followed. And I'm a presidential diamond, which just means that I have a global team that's awesome. And I'm so grateful for the leaders and the customers that we have. And I also am a business coach. I'm an author, speaker, writer, and I have a new coaching program that came through this year as I was healing from my own challenges. I was married for 24 years, and some of you may know me under the name Kelly King Anderson, but I dropped the Anderson when I got divorced. So now I'm helping people to learn how co-creation is a way for healing. And so I developed a coaching program for that, which is called Creation Circle. And I also am like doing so many fun creation projects, which we'll talk about too. I just really have a lot of hobbies, and like I'm a creative person. And so I really enjoy the process of creativity as an expression of our faith. And so everything I do is that faith driver.
Oh, I love it. And it's true. Like I really truly believe that the entire gospel is literally created to help us create what we want to create in this life. Like it's
Yeah.
there to sustain that. And, truly, like healing from my trauma has helped me like understand so many portions of that, and awaken so many portions of that. And so when I say like I actually had somebody ask me the other day, like, oh my goodness, like I'm so sorry you've had all that trauma. I'm like, I'm not. It's seriously like it can be a catalyst to launch you into such a creative mode. You
Oh,
know what I
I'm
mean?
so grateful, transmuting and shifting. And yeah, in fact, before we did our, we hopped on today, I did something called Fists of Rage. Do you know the kundalini?
I have heard of kundalini.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with it, but yeah,
It's just a
tell me about
type,
it.
a style of ancient yoga. Okay. It's
Hmm.
Sanskrit based, and like it's amazing. But there's this one protocol that you can look up on Google. You can just look up video of fists with an S of rage. And so there's this breath work that you do, which you're like breathing heavily with its O mouth, and then you pump your arms backwards and you like pull all this anger out of your body. And then at the end of 3 minutes, you like shoot your arms up to heaven and you just like let it go and release it. And it just like cleanses you and purifies you and shifts you. And I'm on day 2 of a 40-day program of it, but I've done it in the past. And literally, it's beauty for ashes. Like when you release anger, when you release frustration, all of that, and you like shift it, like you become more creative, you become more clear, you become more radiant, and like a vessel that is just ready, you know?
Oh, so
And
beautiful.
so, no matter how much work you do, there will be continual need to transform. And so I'm still in it, like I'm
Hmm.
way in it. I'm still pretty raw since my divorce finished, but I'm like in this season of growth and learning and creation, and it's just a daily commitment, to
Yeah.
practice.
So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful. Go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. Oh yeah. And I totally agree with you because, committing to yourself on a daily basis is one of the major things to healing any kind of, traumas, whether it be relational trauma or just trauma in life in general. Like, there's got to be some sort of daily commitment to yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what you're talking about. But as you were talking about, like, rising from the ashes, it brought to mind a time like when I was actually going through my healing, and the thought of a phoenix,
Yeah.
when it comes up from the ashes, and like I am the phoenix, and like what is created from those ashes, and like how much stronger that new phoenix is. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like a complete rebirth. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I like, and I will say this, like I hear this all the time, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like I just want to figure out, like, I want to be reminded who I am. Like women who are dealing with trauma, they say this all the time, just I want to to be who I am. I want to remember who I am. Like, and I'm like, the thing is, I don't think I would ever be the same person I was before my traumas. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
No.
like, I think you can take trauma and allow it to continually burn you to ash. But I think that there's a, a point, like a piece where you become something more beautiful because of it. You know what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm so much more in love with who I am right now than who I was like 3 years ago. And the reason why is because I was humbled, right? I was
Mm.
humbled. I was broken. I was like, okay, remake me, God. Like I don't want to be in fear. I don't want to be in doubt and worry and stress. And yes, do I still have stress? Yes, of course. But I know the direction I'm going.
Okay, so I want to ask you, like, rising from your ashes, and listeners, like, just to be completely transparent, like, we actually just had to take a pause for just a second
Yeah.
because we had a couple of just interruptions, and even I think just a little bit of trauma in the middle of this podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm watching Kelly right now, like, again, just immediately rise from this ash. So tell me, like, it's such a, like, no, it's like a mentality. Like, it's like,
It's a choice for
it
sure.
is. It
Yeah,
is. And
it
like,
is.
it's like one of the things that I know was a major shift for me is like coming out of this victim mentality to this phoenix mentality.
Yeah,
And boy, it's a beautiful transition.
it
But
is.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so thank you for yeah, just bringing this to the surface. Like so yeah, so I just got some really bad news in the middle of our little recording here, and I was like, okay, well, I know two things. I know that I don't have to have all the answers, and I know that Jesus has the end from the beginning taken care of, and so I surrender to him. And yeah, there's some messy stuff that I get to address when this is over, but I'm not afraid because I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot as a parent, as a former spouse, as now an ex-wife, in dating. I've been through a lot. I've learned a lot about anchoring to Christ, and that if you are like set on leaving everything in his hands and just trusting him to walk through the valley of death with
Yeah,
you,
I get it.
and and to lead you through the darkness to the light. Like there's really nothing you can't heal, like or get to the other side, which is beautiful that that's the name of your program and your podcast and everything, because there really is just this opportunity to recognize we're always held, we're always safe, we're always protected. It's all for our good. We're here to learn. Like, what else is there, Erin?
Yeah, well, that's the coolest thing. Like, I mean, so we're going actually through a time of trauma in general in the world.
Yes.
You're seeing so much like chaos, like food prices going up. And like this is something that a lot of people are really like scared about. And I would even say more so to a woman who is dealing with trauma, because she's already in uncertain times. She's already now all of this uncertainty, like, how am I going to feed my children? How am I going to do
Yeah.
this? How am I going to do this? And, like one of the things that really, really stood out to me in trusting the Lord, and leaning into it. And that's like one of my pillars, in my
Yeah.
Unashamed course is this whole idea of just lean into it.
Yeah.
What I've learned, and I'd love to hear what you've like your thoughts about this, but it's like so exciting, just like lights me up, but is that a miracle always feels intense at the beginning. It always feels like a trauma at the beginning.
No.
No, you don't think so?
Nope.
No, okay, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
I'd love to hear
No,
like
because it can
what
be
your thoughts.
exciting too.
Yes, oh totally.
I don't think that trauma, sorry, the trauma prompts miracles. I don't think so. It just, there can be miracles on the other side of trauma. Like that's a thing for sure. Right.
Mhm.
That's for sure a thing if you choose. But just miracle creation is joy and possibility and love and yummy and like, okay, what's possible, And so because I'm creating miracles every day in business, and it's not just because I have trauma, it's like,
Right.
yeah. So maybe I don't understand your question.
So more like this, like I know that some of my greatest miracles, like I think about, obviously like me healing from trauma, that's a miracle, in and of itself. It truly is. And because there's so many things that have happened, like relationships that have created a lot of trauma that have come and like not full circle, but I like to say the 180 because it's a total shift, right? And have come to support me in beautiful, beautiful ways. Um, my kids are stable and they're happy, and then there's me, and the joy. Like it's just something that is with me like almost all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
And but I am so grateful for the lessons that the trauma has taught me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I also think of like some of the other miracles that have happened in my life. Like another time, my husband, bless his ever loving heart, had invited people to dinner an hour and gave me an hour to actually make the dinner. And I was like, what?
Okay.
Right?
Order
How's
pizza.
this on a Sunday? Like this was also on a Sunday.
No.
Nowhere was open. Otherwise, I would have, And I was like, what have you done? Right? Like, why would you do that to me? I knew he was being a good missionary and everything like that. And I'm like,
Wow.
you and I are gonna talk later, sir. But I was like,
A lot of
okay,
faith
well,
in your
yeah. I
in
was
your
like,
abilities.
okay, leaning into this, like, because like it was, and not only that, it was like a crock pot meal. Like that's what I had going on was a crock pot meal. If you know crock pots, they take a long time to cook, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, intense, Might have to have some apologies and hungry stomachs, but we'll
Yeah.
go with this. So I got it all together, put it in the crock pot, and I said a prayer, and I was like, God, if you want this missionary work to happen, you got to create a miracle here for me. Cook this food. And I kid you not, Kelly, in 1 hour, everything was done. Like the whole thing was cooked. It was like one of the
Okay.
best dinners that
So there
ever
you
was
go.
done.
Okay, so that
And
was
it's
a
like,
miracle of faith
yes,
for sure.
yes, and so like I think about like these times and like my kids, the birthing process, it's a bit intense sometimes at first. And I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't feel like I've ever had a miracle that hasn't had that piece of intensity
Okay, well, we're
to
gonna
it,
create something different. You're
Okay,
gonna
all right,
shift
cool. Let's
your,
do this.
you
Let's
gotta
do
shift
this.
your experience because like really all a miracle is a desire to bring in something that's out of your reach.
Okay, I like that. I like that. All
Right? Like
right. No, hey,
that's
I'm open. I am open to learning from different people's
I mean, that's
perspectives.
all it is, right? Like, it's like you want something that's just beyond like what your existing thing is. And so it's calling it in, it's stretching, it's growing, it's, and recognizing you have the ability within you. It's just upping your faith, upping your
Raising the
partnership with
ceiling a
God.
little bit.
It's
Mm,
it's stretching, it's growing, it's okay, let's bring that in, right? And so for me it's like, oh, you want to go next level? That sounds fun. Like it's
right.
joyful,
Right.
it's creation.
Is that piece of
So,
play.
and yes, like what you said before definitely is true. Like sometimes there's a situation where there's intensity and there's like, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to move this mountain or whatever. And you lean in and you're like, okay, I'm excited to learn through this. That's great too. It's just a different variety, I would say.
Mm.
you
So
know?
what would you say to like so obviously like there's some creation I've got to do, and
Let's change that
trusting.
word.
Yeah,
Gotta. Like I
I
get
get
to.
to. I get to. Right? Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
I'm all good with that. And so like, I get to do a little bit more creation and, create more fun,
Yeah.
obviously in my life. It sounds like I'm lacking a
Spontaneity.
little bit on that, but you know and that's okay, like because we're all in different places and we're all in different situations and in all in different learning. And you're definitely in a higher place of business, than what I am at this point. And
It's
so
just
I
different.
love,
Not
again, it's just
higher.
different.
Different.
It's just different.
Different.
Um, and I love like hearing this thought process, of guess what? We get to play. And so like, but I would love to hear like some of the miracles you're starting to create. Like give us a little bit of this piece from, going from a piece of uncertainty to just like this joy. Like I'd love to hear that thought process.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so I'll just walk you through just a snapshot timeline. So February 2021 was I learned my marriage was over. I was no longer going to accept the behaviors that were happening in my marriage, so it was over. And I spent all of 2021 in a funk of what's happening here after 24
Right.
years of marriage, and recognizing I was married to someone that I didn't know. That was a shock. I was like, oh, I thought I knew you and I do not. Okay, so kind of reshifting like everything, and God like guided me to lean on him more than ever and to recognize that I didn't have to make sense of that situation. I just needed to focus on the direction I was headed.
Mm,
And the direction I was headed would bring me the greatest joy and peace and freedom. Okay.
right.
So that's what I focused on. But it was rough, like for real rough. Like I spent a lot of time journaling, a lot of time doing yoga, getting energy work and doing meditation and doing all kinds of modalities, foot zoning, back zoning, face zoning, everything I could do. spending time at the beach, spending time in the mountains, like, oh, just so much work on myself, on my healing, everything. And then as I kind of finished out the year, 2021, you know, the divorce was finalized the beginning of January. And also, like, I have a house that I'm remodeling during this time too. So
Wow.
2020, yeah. 2022, I am like, okay, I'm going to go deeper with my remodeling project. I'm starting to date. I'm starting to have experiences that I haven't had in a long time. I'm learning to love again. I'm learning to create again. I'm learning to heal and to see. And then also recognizing that I'm not the only person that has trauma here. There's like all these guys that I'm dating, they all have traumas too. And then recognizing, do I want to be a part of that? Do I want not be a part of that? Like, there's just so much growth and learning when you're divorced. And then it's like, okay, what do I want to design my life to look like? What do I want to create? What do I want, single parenting to be like? What do I want my business to be like? What do I want to spend my time doing that brings me the greatest joy? So then I started commissioning some art projects. I collaborated with 3 different artists for, so mind you that the remodel that I'm doing is a healing retreat center. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And
I would
I
love
had that
that.
in place. I purchased the property 2 years prior to realizing I would be like the first client. And so I was very guided by God to get this property. It's a little 5-acre hobby farm. And I've been remodeling it for, a few years, but like the direction and the guidance and like all of it is just so clear of like, I'm creating a healing space for me, for other women, for other families, and it's a beautiful thing. So as part of that, I'm commissioning art. Okay, so I
Mhm.
commissioned many pieces of art. One of them is a sculpture. One of them is like a 6 foot by 4 foot, very multi-dimensional piece that is a lot of texture to it. I did like oil paintings have been commissioned, all kinds of things. So that's been a lot of joy for me. And then creating, the physical space is another thing. And then I also have been learning about farm animals. So I have alpacas. I have 5 alpacas, including 2 babies that have been born on my farm. And I have a baby donkey that we just got last weekend. I've had horses and ponies, and like, that's all new. That's all joy. And like, also, there's some work to be done there. And so that's been good. I also have, been learning a lot about trusting people in business.
Yes.
I've had some challenges with that where I put in, some
Effort.
yeah, we'll just say I put in some lessons about um like being clear about expectations that weren't met, and there was some disrespect for sure on some relationships with my house property and things like that. So I've had to learn again to trust myself and to trust my gut and to interview better and to negotiate better and to find people that I can trust and things like that. And
Yeah.
so that's been a thing. And then now I've had to also surrender timing of the whole project. I mean, literally, just God, you are in charge of this. And I don't know, all the details, but you do. So I'm just going to surrender to you helping me figure this out. So that's
Yeah.
been a big thing. And then the last piece is now I'm starting to find my voice. Literally, I started doing videos for the first time ever. I have an Instagram. I've never had videos. I do reels almost every week. I have multiple videos up. That's been really fun. It's called Kelly King Creates. And I'm talking about creation and moving through, in a direction of positivity and partnering with God and all of that stuff. So that's new for me. And then the last piece is I'm also recording my voice. And so singing. So I started taking voice lessons, and I used to sing all growing up. I was in choirs and in solos and all this stuff, like 14 years of private voice lessons. And then when I was in my early 20s, I was like, okay, I'm married now. That's, thing of the past. It's like, no, like I have a voice. And I
Yes.
want to sing. And here I am at this age, like I want to do this again. I want to sing even just for my own children. So I committed to record 3 of my favorite songs in the next, few months as a gift to them for Christmas. And I just feel like in so much joy and gratitude that I have created a life I love, and I'm creating a life I love even more. And I'm calling in daily expressions of creation with God. And I love to invite other women to do this too, and to be their fullest expression of themselves. And this life is a test for sure. There are challenges, there are trials, but there is joy. And when we focus on the blessings, we focus on the direction we're headed, we can get through anything.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, this is like part of what like just makes this so yummy for me is listening to you actually getting clear on your dreams. Like, for me, and I know like a lot of my clients, like and I remember being this way, like just being so stuck on the trauma and like the stuff that was happening and feeling like these dreams would never happen, and I'm living proof that dreams, and you are living proof, that dreams are totally possible in that, but focusing on the pain is one of those things that keeps us
Yeah, don't do
from
it. Don't do
achieving
it.
it. Yeah, don't.
So I'll give
Don't
you an
like
analogy that God taught me very early on. I hope this helps somebody. Is like imagine I'm in the fast lane of a freeway, okay, and I get to go all the way in that fast lane, okay. But as soon as I slow down to notice the wreckage and the carnage, think of those words.
mm, yeah.
What happens? I'm
You
slowing down. I'm not
mhm.
able to get there. And I guarantee you, every time you're looking in the rearview mirror, you're looking in you're turning your head, you're slowing down, you're focusing on the victim, you're focusing on the drama, you're focusing on the pain. That does not serve you.
No.
It does not serve you at all. But focusing on where you're headed, and focusing on the freedom and on Jesus Christ, who has promised us that he is the calm in the storm, right?
Yes.
He
Yes, and he
is.
is. Oh, he is.
He is. And he has promised us again and again and again that he will bring us through the deepest, darkest, hell, into a higher, more joyful place. And I am living proof he can heal your broken heart. He can heal anything that's broken in your life. And he will do it again and again and again.
Yes. And I think this brings us really beautifully into this whole creation with God, like creating the dream life,
Yeah.
with the Lord, because one of the reasons why women get stuck in the trauma and like don't let it go is this false belief of, if I let this go, then who's going to hold XYZ accountable for their pain that they created for me, right? And the
Wait, wait,
thing
wait.
is,
You think that people are thinking that they're responsible to
often,
remind the person?
well, okay, so like a lot of the women that I talk with are
Mhm.
women who have dealt with husbands who've gone through addiction, right?
Yeah.
And then you get this,
Yeah.
but they do actually, they have this mentality of, well, if I don't focus on his addiction, or if I don't focus on what he's doing, if I don't try to stop him from what he's doing, if I try to control like the computer and all the passwords, if I don't do all of that, then there will be no peace. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
it's kind of this
like they're taking responsibility for it.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Like they're taking so much responsibility for it, and
Mhm.
I don't know if you can hear my little girl. She's sitting there knocking on the on
Oh,
the
you're
door,
good.
but it's it's a thing like in the mind, but the thing of the matter is, and this is why I say this brings us beautifully into this, is one of my aha moments, because that's what I used to think, is I had to keep my husband accountable, that my pain was part of what was keeping him accountable. Like that was going on subconsciously.
Mm,
But I realized what the atonement was.
yeah.
And that is this piece of I don't need to be responsible for the justice.
No.
He's already
Yeah.
taken care of that for me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's not our job at all. Like we're like that we're free to do our life the way that God directs us. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's hard when you're in partnership with someone because you want them to heal and you want them to grow and you want them to overcome
Mhm.
and you want to be a light in an example in that way. But you also like could trigger them to feel more shame and more suffering and more
Absolutely.
pain, right? And we don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
No, and like,
So,
oh, that was another big aha moment for me. It was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I'm actually like the way I
yeah.
was behaving with my husband was actually creating more of the problem I wanted
Mm,
stopped. And it was like,
yeah,
and and there's no judgment,
right.
talking
We're
in
all
this
learning, all
podcast. Yeah,
learning.
totally, totally.
Mhm.
Um, and like I say this because I get it, I mean, that's exactly where I was at, but the truth of the matter is when I actually chose to let that go and was like, you know what? I actually like I was thinking to myself, I want to create his freedom from pornography because then I would finally be able to be
But
free
you
from it,
can't
right?
create that.
You
Only Jesus
can't.
can.
Exactly. No, you can't because that's making yourself responsible for someone else's,
Yes.
behaviors. And I was actually in and I remember being in this seminar, and it might have been on Tiffany Peterson's one of her events. I think it was. And she had a guest speaker, and it was a man, and I wanted to huck a tomato at him when he said this, but it's so true. He was like, "For things to change, I must change. For things
Yeah.
to get better, I must get better." And it was like, you don't know what I've been. You don't know, like, oh my gosh, like it awakened all of this anger inside of me. But as I sat there and I stewed on that for a while, I was like, you know what? It's actually not him I want to change. This is part of the reason why I'm stuck in this process and in this cycle is because I'm focused on the wrong thing. What I need to do is I need to focus on giving my will to God and creating with him. And President Benson said it beautifully. I bet you probably know this quote of men and women who give their lives over to
Yes.
God can find that he can create all of these things, more joy, more peace, deeper relationships, a more fulfilling life than what they can themselves. And it was, again, just a little bit more of that leaning into it, like, okay, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay, let's create. You know what I mean? And it's really just such a beautiful, like I look at this now and I have to giggle. I'm glad I didn't have tomatoes that day. Tiffany would probably never talk to me again. But I'm grateful. I am so grateful for him standing up and saying that. I'm so grateful for the anger that came up because it made me realize some things. And I'm grateful now because even though like I get to still create, like I'm not entirely where I want to be yet. I still have things I get to create, like you were saying. I get to dream. I get to
It's like
enjoy
a
those.
kid. Like it's like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, what's possible, right?
Yes. Like what's
And like,
possible? What's next?
yeah, what's possible, and what else? And I'm 49. Like I've got 40 years left, maybe more. Like, what do I want to do? And what do I want to create? And what do I want to be? And like anything is possible. And I love that idea. And it just makes me smile. Like, okay, I get a second chance in life to find, this new way of doing things, and I can't wait. So,
So here's a really awesome question just like popped up out of my soul here for you. So what do you do when you feel like you're on your journey, you are in this creation mode? It feels awesome, it feels juicy, it feels yummy. It's like, heck yeah, let's do this. And all of a sudden, boom, block. And you're like, "Oh, didn't see that coming?" So what do you
mhm.
do? Like how do you handle that?
Well, okay, I have a lot of support tools, right? So
Hmm.
I alluded to the fists of rage thing I'm doing every day to let go of
Right.
anger. I have accountability groups. I have, I do, use oils,
Yes.
doTERRA oils.
Use the oils.
And there's an incredible book called Essential Emotions, and you can look up.
Love that book.
Yeah, you can look up
Yes.
a specific emotion that you're feeling, and then it'll tell you as a guide like what oil to use to offset that. And it works so well. So then I'm diffusing it, I'm putting it on my body, I'm putting in my water, all of that. Um, and there's just so many tools that you can use to shift. I write almost every single day in a journal, free write. I write letters to God, it's
I
like
love
prayer
that practice.
journaling,
Yeah.
Q&A practice. Sometimes I also use the Samuel scripture of speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And I just like ponder and just write. So if you're not using a pen and paper, like that's the free therapy, that we
Yeah,
can
it is. Yeah, it
and
is.
then moving your body is really important, and and getting the better nutrition in your body, and drinking water. I mean, just so many things, breath work. But like if I'm stuck, then I have to get honest about it and go, this isn't what I want to be at. So what I need to do, move this forward, shift. How can I, you know, address
Yes.
this? And
Yes.
sometimes I need friends to snap me out of it and be like, okay, let's go for a walk, or okay, let's go to this play, or whatever. Just something different from your norm. Like, don't stay in your house all day. Like, get outside and feel the sun on your face and put your
Go for a
feet in the
walk.
grass, or,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like I notice a huge difference. Like if I'm ever feeling a little bit in that funk, I'm like, okay, out for my walk. And I go and I go for 4 or 5 miles and then I come back and it's just like a whole entire reset for me. But the thing that I love about what you just said there is this idea that the first person that you go to for support, besides of course the Lord, is yourself. Like this idea of self support. Like we sometimes like trauma teaches you some stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that it taught me was that there was nobody to rely on and that I couldn't have support and like
Mm-hmm.
just all this funky stuff that really kept me
Yeah.
stuck. But the idea of self-support and like having your own back and like finding the ways that like almost everything you said there was free. Journal, get out and walk. Um Look at yourself in the mirror and like seriously build yourself up and like have an honest conversation with yourself and be your own best friend.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, creation right there. Like what, like the kinds of creation that comes from, having a good relationship with yourself and being supportive for you is transformational. And then the
Not to
friends.
mention, not to mention that I am single, right?
Hmm.
So the more I love myself and love and accept myself, the more like strength I'm going to have in my being, that I'm not going to need to go find that in another person, and that they can add to and they can contribute to, but they don't
Mhm.
need to be that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, and that's a
So,
heavy spot, I think to sometimes put on our relationships is that
mhm.
you need to be this for me. It's that expectation. And I actually just did a video about this yesterday about the difference between intention and expectation. You know, um, Intention is all about what you get to create for yourself. It's all about giving yourself a beautiful, beautiful gift, whereas expectation is what you expect other people to create for you, you
Yeah.
know? And like it's a whole different ballgame of where you want to live. Like you can actually count on yourself to do some beautiful, amazing, fabulous things. And then you add that God's like, heck yes, girl, let's do this, let's take this, let's run with it. You know, I am here to support this. I am here to awaken this inside of you. Look at all these tools that you've got.
Mhm.
Look at all these gifts that you've got to literally take this and make this your mission and your purpose, to make this like your passion, to do some serious creation with this. Like it's almost kind of like you're the jet and he's the fuel. Let's go.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it's exciting. And if life isn't joyful, then we need to ask ourselves, why not?
Yeah. Why not? And I like there's a caution here because I almost like hear and maybe it's because I'm listening to my old self here, but like immediately my old self would have said, well, it's because of my husband, right? But
Mm.
no. No. Joy is there for us to take right now and claim right
Yes. Yes. And
now.
in all transparency, I did say to my husband at one, my ex-husband, I said, you ruined my life. And like, and he said, kind of like, don't give me that much credit. You know what I mean? Like, I did not ruin your life. Like, he made choices that impacted my life, but he didn't ruin it. Like, I am the master of my life with God, right?
You're in the
I get to
driver's seat.
co-create the direction. And in fact, I thank him. I thank him for every pain and suffering that came, because I'm better. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm better as a
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and we
Oh.
need opposition in all things, right?
Oh my
We
gosh, how yummy is this?
we do.
Yes.
We need every single thing. And along the lines of the deep healing work that's required, yes, you have to sit with the pain, you have to console those wounds, you have to address, like, don't cover it up and be like, why am I not having joy? It's like, no, like there's a season for that. And if right now your season is to console and to rock yourself and to heal and to be like still and just ask for the love of God to come into your life, like that's a season.
That is.
Okay. And like
Totally
if
is.
that's where you're at, I honor you and I pray for you to find more Jesus. And through that time, know that there will be more joy on the other side. And the way through that is to baby step your dreams. Baby step dreams looks like just getting still and being like, what do I want today? Like Tiffany Peterson again, like she says, like you're talking to your 4-year-old self, like, honey, what do you want today? What do you need today? Oh, you want to go to the park? Okay, go to the park. Do you want to go pet that kitty? Okay, let's pet the kitty. That's part of dreaming, is just
It is.
honoring the needs and desires of your heart. And then, like, well, what do you want next? Like, where do you want to go for your birthday? What do you want to do on Friday night? What do you want to wear this season? What do you want to do with your kids for next spring break? Like, like start to like get into this yummy creation of what else and like it's baby steps for sure. Because when I was first going through it, I was like, I can't even think past tomorrow. You know what I mean? But as I've started to own my life and own my future and own the opportunities, I'm feeling more comfortable making plans in the future.
Yeah.
It was hard for me at first.
Yeah, but I think you've mentioned something there that's really important, and that is the idea of the inner child work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that little child is hurting, and it's okay. Like, you know, I've got 6 kids. People hear them in the background. You probably hear them in the background
I
right now.
love it. You're so
Yes,
blessed.
and I am. I really, really am. And they are a major piece to my healing puzzle, to be honest with you, because I think about the way I love these kids, and though even though I have to give them boundaries, and I think it's okay to give that little inner child some boundaries
Mm-hmm.
too. I mean, but you can go ahead and give yourself some of that mothering love. And like I think about like how much I love this little girl that's babbling in the background right now, and the the older brother that's trying to keep her quiet for me, and my 15-year-old son, my 13-year-old son, like all of them have just awakened such a love for me. And so when we think about like that maybe that discomfort, that pain, that piece of us that needs to be healed, I mean, what if we sent some of that love that gets awakened for us with cute little babbling baby girls and cute teenage kids and all of that to ourselves, and that little child that's living inside of us, like, doing that kind of work gave me such a deep love and appreciation for who I am today and for
Mm-hmm.
all of my experiences. And I think it's another way that we've created, like for me personally, that I have actually created a life with God, because He sees this piece of us, and we are His child. We are this being to be loved and to be cherished and to be appreciated, and to give them to be given this ability and this right to get playful. You know what I mean? And oh my goodness, it's just such a yummy, beautiful concept to give yourself that little child a piece of that love. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. On a daily basis too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Absolutely. Check
Not
in.
just like if it's a special day. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like every day, like slow down for at least a few minutes and just honor what you need. And that's where, oils can come in, because you can say, okay, how am I feeling? What do I need right now? And go to your oil box and grab it out. If you don't have oils, then what is your way to love on yourself? Like do that thing,
Hmm.
but be still enough that you have a routine that you can honor, those needs. So,
I love that. And I want to add one of my favorite oils for awakening some love and some motivation. There's actually a couple, and it is the citrus bliss.
ah,
I love
which
citrus
is also going to
bliss.
bring your creativity out.
Yes, that's going to bring up the creativity. It's going to bring up that like love of life and just
Mhm.
that sweetness as well. So I love citrus bliss
Yes.
for that. And rose actually
For sure.
is another really good one. Rose is a
Yes.
bit more on the pricey side, but
Yeah, but you can get it
ooh,
diluted. So don't
yeah,
don't feel like you can only get it pure. Like if you get the
yeah,
diluted, it's much more affordable. So,
yeah. And it's like I said, it's there's actually healing properties, emotional properties to the coconut oil even
yep.
that you dilute with. So like
Yeah.
those are my two recommendations. Do you have recommendations for?
So many. And I'll just give a plug for two of the new oils that just came out, guaiac wood and Spanish sage. Those are two new oils that just came out this fall. Both of them are so good for
Gonna go
like,
add those to my order.
yeah. So guaiac wood is for like like getting clear about like inner questions you want answered. So like you use it with a question. And
Ooh.
then,
Yep, that's going
um,
on my order.
yep. And then Spanish Sage is for like calling in the surprises that you want to create and like, ooh,
Oh.
like what, like it kind of like the, what's next on your joy list kind of stuff. Like the secrets of what you want are going to like come forward. Both of those interpretations are from Desiree Mandendog, who I love.
Oh.
But I am also really big into the Lang Lang, which is for inner child,
Mm-hmm.
and like geranium is good for grief and for helping the heart. It's also called like the poor man's rose. So if you want to use rose, but you feel like it's a little bit out of your price range, you can get geranium. And then I'm also really big on during trauma, you need to address your adrenals. And so using basil or Tulsi are really good for resetting the body and helping the body to deal with deep trauma that's like deep rooted from fatigue and like clearing that, healing that, moving that through. So those are some that are really good.
Yeah, and really seriously not like I will say this too as a plug for the oils because I love them so much. Like that they were a huge piece to my
Yeah,
healing process
me
as well,
too.
And I will say this like a a few drops goes such a long ways and it's seriously one of the most powerful supports that I
Hmm.
have seen in healing your soul.
Hmm.
To a literally soul deep soothe.
Yeah,
And
they're
so,
incredible.
yeah, totally
And
is.
if you're not taking baths regularly with Epsom or Himalayan salt or magnesium
My
flakes, do
favorite.
that. Do like a cup of each and
Hmm.
then do, some oils in your bath. And I would say like 1 or 2 times a week minimum if you're
Yeah.
going through trauma to
Well,
like
and then
shift.
one of the things I loved to do, because I did that too, I didn't actually use the basil. I should like, oh, I'm gonna actually put that one on my, I have that, I have a lot of it actually, but that's gonna go in my bath water next time.
Yeah.
'Cause that sounds so good. But envision like all of the trauma, like all of the pain, like all of that hurt literally going down the drain with the water when you
Yeah,
pull that plug, and just watch it all go
I like that.
because it clears so much. Like seriously, just a deep calming bath clears so much
It does.
for the soul.
It just helps you give yourself permission to be still and to rest and to receive. And as women, we're givers and we need to receive. So a bath is our time to like lean back and rest, you know?
Hmm. Yes, exactly. I love that way that you said that too. Just why, look, that's why I love baths so much. With a good book too.
For sure. Candles, all the things.
Yes, all the things. Spoil yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, just to kind of getting into this wrapping up energy, but I would love to hear like some of your final thoughts, like actually let me backtrack. I have two more questions. The one thing that came to my mind just a minute ago is like there's so many different places, like so many different steps to healing from trauma.
Uh-huh.
Um, and trauma isn't like one of those things that ever completely leaves your life, but it's definitely like healing from it helps you heal from it so much quicker the second time because now you have all these tools, right? So,
Yeah. You mean like
what,
new traumas?
yeah, like
Because
new
I
traumas,
feel
yeah.
like the initial trauma that whatever you're dealing with, like there's going to be layers of that, right? That need to be addressed at different times and different things
Yes,
that trigger
yes,
different things.
yes.
And it's a process. It's not like a destination, right?
Hmm.
It's a practice. The whole thing.
Well, and I think the destination is actually your dream life, creating those dreams, but then you get to go create a new destination and another new
Mhm.
destination. Like there's no end to the creation,
Right.
you know? But thinking about someone who's just barely, barely like, I need to heal my trauma versus someone who,
Mhm.
you know, has created this beautiful empire, this dream, this, has created quite a bit, but still feels like they need to release some of the traumas that are holding them back. What would you give these two people in these different areas of healing? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I'd say the same thing. I would say if you haven't addressed your anger, address your anger.
Yes.
And look up, we'll have to give you a link to a good Kundalini Fists of Rage video so you can put it in the podcast. But do a 40-day challenge, get a buddy. But another thing you can do is a really simple meditation I learned from Brooke Snow, which is I love and accept you, and you add your name. So you say, like, I love and accept you, Kelly, and you do it for 5 minutes out loud. And no matter what stage you are in your trauma situation, like we all need to have more love and acceptance for ourselves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so saying it out loud for 5 minutes helps you to like hear it, feel it, speak it, get it deeply rooted in you. And you can do that for 40 days as well until like it transforms in you. But I would say the person who's just in the initial shock, trauma, PTSD, yoga nidra, if you haven't like experienced that, you can look that up on like the Calm app or on Insight Timer app, which is free,
I love the
or
calm
on
app too.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yoga nidra is great. You can look up that. So I think that will help with sleep. Of course, we've talked about oils, we've talked about all these other things. And then, just a daily practice of gratitude of like, what are the blessings, even just 5 things. And when you're in like such immense trauma, it's hard to like see anything that's good. So just like write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and one word on each line of like, oh, strawberries. Oh,
Yeah.
a rainbow. Oh, makeup.
Carpet,
Like
walls.
whatever it is,
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you can start to get like in this practice of seeing the good and going to bed knowing like, oh, there is good in the world. Okay. And then on the more healing side, just keep doing your work, just keep doing it every week, every day. Keep recognizing that there'll be days you don't feel great, and that's okay. Just, do some extra journaling that day or plan something fun and put it on the calendar and just be committed, that you're walking with God every day and He will lead you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And you're going to find that, wow, I'm doing really good. And I feel better than I've felt in a long time. And I'm able to have the capacity to give more to someone else today. That's a win. Awesome.
Love it. Oh
You
my
know?
goodness. I love it. Yes. Yes. And gratitude, that's actually the anchoring piece, to, the pillars. And because it does, it anchors you into truth. It anchors you into the here and the now. And then the second piece that I love about what you said is use your voice.
Yeah.
God has given us so many tools to actually have zero um holds barred. Like you have like your mind is completely free. Your voice is something that is completely free. Like if I said to you, envision a one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater. You could do it. You could do it. And but you've got so much ability. Like there's no stopping points. There is no I am looking for a word here, but it's like there's nothing that's holding you back from creating anything you want. You
Infinite.
can
Yeah, we're infinite.
infinite. Yeah, it's infinite possibilities. And to be honest with you, if you can envision that one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater, you can go ahead and draw it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it comes out in creation. And your voice is a second piece to that. And so,
Yes.
actually talking to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I remember the 80s growing up and always hearing if you talk to yourself, you're crazy. You're not. You actually might be one of the few sane people, you know? I know I talk to myself all the time. And it's something like I talk to myself about the things I want to create. I talk to myself about the things I want to see happen. Um and I also build myself up a lot with my voice. And it's also one of those things that has no limits. That's the word I'm looking for. It has no limits to it. You can create so many beautiful things with your mind and your voice. And then I think your energy
Yeah.
as well, what like kind of just starts to align with that. So I love that. Love that whole thing.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yes, it is. It's exciting and it's just something that lights you up so much. So now the wrapping up piece.
Okay.
Um, I would love to hear your final thoughts about creating with God. Like, give us just some yummy, let's just take this into our energy, into our minds, into our voices, into our hearts, and
Mm.
like do something with like something creative with
Can
this.
I
Like,
read you
yes,
something I wrote?
yes, please.
Okay, this is literally from my journal just a couple days ago. So I write to God, I write letters from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you guys just to like imagine God is saying this to you right now. This applies to everyone. So, dear sweetheart,
It's a sweet one for me. It's
is
interesting. Yeah, dear
it?
sweet one. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll always know, sweetheart, how much I love you because I'll tell you every day. You are the light, the sun, moon, and stars. You don't even know it. You shine so bright and beautiful. Your worth is infinite, and you are unaware most of the time. A hidden gem. Be careful not to diminish your value. Be protective of your energy, time, space, and gifts. You have a lot to offer, and yet you need to fill yourself up before giving to others. You'll have more to give. It also won't take so much from you when you do. Be selective and treasure who you spend time with personally and professionally. You are loved more than you know. Be aware of your goodness, purity, and kindness.
Beautiful.
I love you. And this is me saying to him, I love you. I ask thee to lead me continually. Humble me, make me a worthy instrument. Teach me to align with thee always, and to do thy work in a way that will have the most impact, the most influence for the most people in and out of this world. I am yours fully and completely. I just want to fulfill my work on the earth and be joy as I love, serve, and give.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
And it's just like that little piece. Like, what a better way to wrap up a podcast about creating with God than having an actual piece from the
Mm.
Lord Himself. And I will tell you, that's one of my favorite practices too, is, these letters to God. And it's one of the ways that keeps me in peace. It's one of those ways that keeps me on just kind of on my path and in the creation and um keeps me humbling and consistently bouncing back from whatever it is. And that's like that bounce back piece to the tears, It's this piece of loving yourself enough, loving yourself the way God loves you. Because when you do that, you're no longer focusing on your triggers, but you're focusing on your creation, the things that you get to actually do. And when you focus on those, like what you get to do in this life, what you get to create, what you want to do, and the way you want to show up, triggers kind of just fade into the background. It's not something that tends to bring you down.
Mm-hmm. For
So
sure.
beautiful. Okay, Kelly, tell us a couple of ways that, like if there's any of my listeners that want to reach out to you, that want
For
to
sure.
connect with you, tell us how they do that.
Yes. So on Facebook, I'm Kelly King, and I have a Facebook group called Creating with God. It's a non denominational Christian group. So those are two things there. On Instagram, I'm Kelly King Creates, and that's Kelly. And I am doing a Creation Circle group coaching program every 8 weeks or so. So if you're interested in that, there's also a curriculum that if you want to be a coach and you don't have a curriculum, I can provide that too. And it's all about creating with God and moving through to create in more powerful ways in all areas of your life. So if any of that speaks to you, I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to connect and see, how we can work and serve one another and do God's work on the earth in more beautiful, powerful ways.
I love it.
Thank you.
Kelly, thanks so much for being with us today. What a
you.
beautiful, juicy conversation. I am totally gonna go anchor myself a bit more in the play now.
Yes,
Thanks for
let's do it. Miracles
thanks for
await,
tweaking
babe.
that little bit of that energetic chiropractic. I like that.
Let's do it. Okay.
Let's do it. All
Okay.
right. Thanks so
Take
much,
care,
Kelly.
everyone.
Okay,
God bless.
talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right, fantastic audience. I am so grateful that we were able to have Kelly on with us today. Isn't she amazing? Like, wow, really, truly, wow. But I wanted to add this piece to the end of the podcast just for you listeners. I really appreciated how she called into question one of my previously held beliefs. Yes, absolutely, trauma can be the beginning of a miracle, but if you think of trauma always being the beginning of a miracle, it keeps you in trauma. And that was something that I appreciated that she would point out for me. And this is also something that I get to go and change, something that I get to up-level, something that I get to recreate. And as you're listening to these podcasts and you see that there might be something different or an aha moment or an invitation to change a deep-seated belief that you have had, I would invite you to do just that, my sweet listener, because that is exactly the reason why I am creating this podcast, is so that way I can have more people be able to heal and release their traumas. So today I am grateful to be able to think about the play aspects of healing trauma and realize that creating miracles with God feels a lot like play. All right, my loves. See you next week. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna be awesome.